Hi, my name is Rachel and I blog at A Mother Far From Home. Today I want to talk about one of the most common misperceptions with baby sleep. It's a common mistake that we can all make, we've all been known to make it, and it actually makes life harder for us and it's harder for the babies to go to sleep. So here goes. One of the biggest mistakes that you can make is to try to wear your baby out so that they sleep better. With toddlers this might work, of course they need exercise and that helps them nap or sleep better. But exercise and wearing someone out to sleep better only works if they're already well rested. If your baby becomes overtired, which is what happens when you try to wear them out or keep them up for a long period of time or put them to bed later in hopes they'll sleep later in the morning, what actually happens is they sleep worse. The quality of their sleep is worse. They wake up more often, they don't have as deep a sleep when they're already overtired and they're awake more, then they just become more overtired and it's a cycle that's very hard to break. So what does an overtired baby look like? Well, there's quite a few symptoms and every baby will be different. Babies have different sleep needs, so maybe one baby might be overtired by staying up a certain amount of hours and another baby might not be, and that's so true. It might differ between your children, which is why you might be confused because you might have a preschooler who did very well on a certain routine and you have your baby on that routine and they're tired and exhausted and fussy. The symptoms of an overtired baby are that they're very fussy, that it's very hard for them to get to sleep, that they actually seem very alert and wide awake all the time. This might make you think they're not tired, but really they're probably overtired. If you put them in a stroller or carry them or put them in the car and they instantly fall asleep because of the motion, that's a good sign they were overtired. Waking up multiple times during the night, crying in an inconsolable way where you don't know what's wrong, jerking frequently if they hear a loud noise around them. So if you know your baby's had enough to eat but they just seem really fussy and they've been waking up a lot at night and they don't want to nap or go to bed easy, they're classic overtired. So that's the bad news, that they're overtired. But the good news is once you get them on a good routine that keeps them well rested, they'll sleep better, sleep more, and they'll be more willing to go to sleep. They'll want to go to sleep. If they're overtired, you just have to set a few things into place to get them into a well-rested state and then maintain that so that they don't become overtired. Now, of course, life happens. You stay up late, you go to a special event, something special's happening with the family, it's a holiday or vacation, these things happen. But what I'm talking about is the basic every day-to-day, Monday to Friday or Monday to Sunday, week after week. You don't want them to be perpetually overtired because this makes for a very difficult time for your baby and a difficult time for everyone else as well. So the first thing you need to keep in mind when you know your baby is overtired is that you actually need to put them to bed early. So instead of doing what you might think, keep them up a little later, they'll sleep later, actually they'll sleep worse. What you can do is put them to bed earlier. So if they normally go to bed around 8, but you know that they're tired, they're losing it by 7 o'clock, put them to bed at 7. You might even need to put them to bed at 6:30 for a couple of days because they might need to recover. They might need to have a good long sleep to make up for their lack of sleep, or their sleep deficit is what it's called when they're missing sleep. So during the day, if you know your baby's really exhausted but they fight nap time and they scream and you have to lay with them for an hour and they only sleep for 45 minutes and then they wake up and they're not in a great mood, or they wake up super hyper, you know they need more sleep. Well, instead of waiting or putting them to bed later, put them to bed earlier, because even if they sleep the same amount of time, which they probably won't, they'll probably sleep more, they've had more rest because they haven't built up that overtiredness. Second thing you can do to help prevent overtiredness is to create a wind down routine when it's time for a nap or bedtime. Often we think, oh, it's time for the baby to go to bed, they yawned, and we take them from a busy, loud room full of siblings or TV or radio, noise. We take them to their room, change their diaper, give them a kiss, and put them in the bed. Well, actually, it's very difficult for a baby to go to sleep from being in a stimulating environment to a quiet one without that time to wind down. So creating a wind down routine gives your baby's body opportunity to release the sleep happy hormones and melatonin, which will help calm them so that when you put them in their crib that they'll be tired and drowsy and they'll go to sleep. Depending on your situation, how many kids you have that you can leave unsupervised in other areas of the house or what they're doing, I often try to do about a 10 to 15 minute wind down. So this might mean going into the room, pulling the curtains, putting on white noise if you use that. If you don't, I recommend it, especially if there's other kids in the house. The sleep association, which we'll talk about tomorrow, you can sing to them, read some books to them, speak in a quiet voice, rock them until they're drowsy but still awake. And then because their bodies have had time to unwind, they know this means nap time or this means bedtime, they're calmer. And hopefully if they're not overtired, then they'll just want to go to bed and go to sleep. So you want to put them to bed earlier and you want to have an unwind period. The last tip that I want to give you to help prevent overtiredness is to find a good nap time and bedtime that you can use consistently. Now it doesn't have to be down to the exact minute, but find a time that works for your family and for your routine and schedule, and try to be consistent day in, day out. And here's why. Get in the habit of doing something, our bodies start to regulate towards that. Remember back when you worked, or if you work now, and you had a set lunchtime? Every day around that lunchtime, you start to get hungry. You don't even need to look at the clock to know your stomach might start growling right at the time that it's time to go. And the babies do a similar thing with eating and with sleeping. If they're used to sleeping at a certain time, they might start yawning within 5 minutes of that time and rubbing their eyes. All 4 of my babies did this. Around the time that was their bedtime, they would start all of the tired cues because their body was used to going to bed and it started the wind down. So these are the 3 ways that you can help prevent overtiredness. 1, if they're already tired, if they've had a big day, put them to bed early. 2, give them a good wind down routine, and it doesn't have to be 30 minutes of craziness, but just enough time to help them calm down. 3, find regular times at work that you put them to nap in bed so that their bodies can get used to this, and this will help prevent them from being overtired. Because remember, the more tired we are, the worse we sleep. The better we sleep, the more we sleep, and the more we want to sleep. So you can go from having a baby who doesn't nap and wakes up all night to having a baby who naps well and sleeps through the night. And helping prevent them from being overtired is how. I have a lot more tips than this in my full course, but I hope today has helped you. It might have helped many women. This might be the key that helps you get your baby to sleep well. But stay tuned for tomorrow, where I'm going to talk about another big issue that's one of the major stumbling blocks that causes babies to wake up all night and need you to come and help them instead of going back to sleep on their own.